Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I love
Thank you so much for your support.
January, February, into March and April. Same way too.
Thank you.
May, June, or July.
Fucking hell! Horrid!
I never
Absolutely
let a day
horrid!
go by
I give you shower and you snaky with me. What the fuck did I do to you?
Go away in August or September, in October and November, not to mention warm December. I love
Half a dozen pieces of fucking
so
shit.
another year has gone, I'm ready for the next one too.
If I can be with you.
Every single second, every minute, every hour, all the whole year too. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I love you.
I'm ArchieLuxury. Tell me what you fuckers think of that.
But I am sure that Lord is watching this program as well, because he cannot stop watching you, because it's basically very attractive to you sexually, even so that he is not into men's, but eventually he is.
Lord, help me!
Yes, sir.
spent too much money.
I respect you. I will remain.
Okay, I respect you too. I love
no
you.
hard
You can
feelings.
leave now because your time
That's
is
goodbye.
important.
I gotta be totally honest with you. I don't want to carry on this bullshit that everything is a struggle. I've got to be totally honest with you. I actually have a tax bill kind of due, and this money would be extremely helpful to meet some obligations that I've got.
In October and November, not to mention warm December, I love you. Though another year has gone, I'm ready for the next one too. Every single second, every minute, every hour, all the whole year too.
All right, ladies and germs, Sunday morning ArchieLuxury live stream. I'm not ArchieLuxury, but I'm your host, Fan, and we're going to be going through some watch talk this Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon in Europe, and the Australians are probably sleeping. Already got a bunch of folks in the chat. We got Vintinier who says, "Can Dury Luxury, yes, on a Sunday morning." BJM says, "Hi all." Frank Cannon says, "Nobody wants to see Artem's face." Yes, I agree. And he says, "Much better." Swinging Kangaroo says, we are alive, boys and girls, Sunday morning. And yeah, just haven't really been around much this weekend. Had a lot of stuff going on in the evenings. So I thought I'd hop on, do some, maybe do a few hours of a bit of watch talk, see what's going on, riff with the chat, the usual, as you guys know. But obviously a big evening tonight, Super Bowl Sunday. So not too sure how the streaming world is going to go tonight. So figured I'd do some work in the morning here, do some little watch talk in the morning. We got Der Stiefel says, "Patek and Pussy." Yes, Der Stiefel. That is what we talk about on the ArchieLuxury channel, Patek and Pussy. Sometimes Porsches, but we'll try not to talk too much cars today. But yeah, no, we got a lot of stuff that went on in the watch world over the past week and a half, from all the AP releases and to, everyone's, I think, covered a lot of those to death, as well as, a few releases from Grand Seiko. I know, Der Stiefel, you went down the rabbit hole of Grand Seiko for quite some time, and seems like your heart has changed in terms of the brand. And look, I think Grand Seiko is it's a tough one, right? They kind of do everything on all sides of the spectrum. They do, entry level luxury to, what they deem as Rolex competitive pieces, all the way up the chain into high horology. When you see with their Credo brand, as well as even the Grand Seiko brand itself, doing a ton of high end stuff. We got Mobster in the chat, yelling the Tanzil. Yes. Hello, Mobster. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you are. I can't keep up because we got Australians who watch this show sometimes in the middle of their night. We got Europeans who are probably chilling in their afternoon. And the North American drinks ready, getting the parties ready. There's people says Archie would say, "I'm giving Grand Seiko the wide berth." Yes, I would agree with that. Look, hey, I got no beef with people checking out other brands and really, I think experiencing brands for yourself is an important piece for you to really give a good assessment. Because most of the time when we're sitting here, the armchair luxury folks are sitting here just, we're scrolling through websites where, this watch, for example, came out a few days ago, the Grand Seiko Snowflake meets a GMT called the Yuki Geisho. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm sure I'm not. But Hodinkee is trying to, allude that it's a Snowflake variant and or a continuation of the Snowflake. Now, I don't know. I can't really tell from the dial, and I think this is the tough part about Grand Seiko is, Grand Seiko would be very difficult to decipher. I think from pictures, you really probably have to see it in person. But I was never a good person at these, those magic drawings or magic pictures. We have to stare at something until you see an actual picture. This is supposed to be dusting of snow in the environment around the studio where Grand Seiko is, but I don't really see it. I've been trying to look at these pictures to kind of see, and Hodinkee talks about some graining here on the dial, but I don't know. I really don't see that here. And outside of this really just being a GMT that's had a different dial, there hasn't really, the movement's the same as previous models. It's just a different dial, which, hey, Grand Seiko is known to do, but outside of getting a real life shot of this to really describe how nice that dial is, like outside of that, the effect is really nullified in my opinion. It's nothing special, and I think that we need to have some real life photos, and I'll see if I can find some if there are any. But the only ones I could find are the only ones I did see were off of Hodinkee, and I was not too impressed with that. LV asks, what would be your dream 6-piece combo meal deal? All right, let me mark a 6-piece combo meal deal. All right, so I'm gonna go. We got a guest joining. ABC. Good afternoon,
Mr. Ansari.
Ansaria.
Ansari.
What's happening? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. How are you?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. I haven't been really around the stream world this weekend. I heard it's been a blockbuster weekend for drama, and
Yep.
I can't even keep up anymore. I thought there was no drama, and then I take a bit of a break, and there's a fucking drama now, right? So.
Yep. As of yesterday, I think it kicked off again.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's tough to actually decipher what's going on with the dramas these
But
days.
I don't think. But I think everyone's now got an excuse to appear wherever they want because we just can't keep up with what's going on.
Yeah, it's.
You can go to Watch Nicholas's, you can go to Tim's, you can go anywhere. Just enjoy the watch talk. So what? Okay, you showed was that an Aquanaut you showed before?
Yeah, I think it was a white gold Aquanaut blue dial. I'm gonna put that back up here.
Now
the sound.
The new.
It's an Aquanaut chronograph.
So that's a 60-minute chronograph, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just love the 5960 12-hour one, all concentric. That is so cool.
I think so. I agree, ABC. The Aquanauts can be a little plain, I think, like, when you just have the basic Aquanauts, but I do like I'm not a huge fan of the Nautilus with complications, but I think the Aquanaut for me does really well with complications. But now that I have a panelist with me, maybe both of us can answer this. LV's asking me my 6-piece dream combo meal deal. So I'm gonna go with the most heavy hitting I would take is a Patek Philippe 3940, which is a perpetual calendar. It is a vintage perpetual calendar. It's the one Philippe Stern wore for 20 years when he was at the helm of Patek Philippe. So 3940 perpetual calendar.
Is that with the moon phase?
Yeah, I'll pull it up for you here. Hold on.
And would you go for what color dial would you go for?
I'd want to get this in the white gold. So I'll show you the exact. I'll first gen. Here, let me pull it up. Let me pull it up here for you.
Because one crazy perpetual calendar I've seen from Patek is one with a moon phase as well. Okay, that one. Wow, look at that.
Yeah, this is an icon. Like it's after the 3940 came the 5140 and the modern 5327. But this ran for a long period of time, and there's a lot of pieces out there. They actually were a lot cheaper when I was first looking for them. They were probably about 40 grand. Now they're white golds are hovering 60, 70 grand US. So they're definitely going up in price. And this is a 36 millimeter. So that's the first piece I would get. Next piece I would get is an AP Royal Oak 15500. I might as well just pull these all up here. AP Royal Oak 15500. This is my silver dial.
The one you've got, right?
This is the one I've got. I'm very happy with it. Very, very big fan of the AP Royal Oak. It was a piece I'd never wanted to get rid of. I unfortunately got rid of it when I had the 15500. But yeah, no, it's
would you go for any? Well, let me let you sort of say your piece, actually. Find out in a minute.
Yeah, no worries. Next one will be a JLC Reverso Tribute to 1931 US edition. So this will be on the Fagliano strap with the syringe hands. These are pretty rare. There's not a ton of these around. This is the US edition Reverso with the syringe hands. Would be my next. Would be my third choice. Then we're going to obviously go down the line of a Rolex GMT Meister 126710 BLRO.
Are you okay with having no sweeping seconds
on the Reversal? Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I've had Panerais and stuff.
So you're not really, accuracy is not such a big thing.
No, look, my Reversal would be, if I'm kind of looking at the collection, right? Like if I was talking about the 3940, I mean, that's a special occasion piece. I'm not wearing that very often. That's staying on a winder, and then I'm pulling that out when I really want to have a special time that I'm going to be wearing that, maybe a couple of times a year. It's going to be very, very sparsely worn. It is a vintage. If I'm talking about something that, is going to be my weekend, special wash, that'd probably be the Royal Oak. A lot more usable and a lot modern and whatnot. The Reverso, I would say, is if I'm wearing it for work, something if I'm dressed up a little bit more, it'd look nice. But I won't really need the center seconds or a running seconds hand. And then this would be my fourth piece, GMT. This would be for travel. Probably one of my most favorite watches. I'd get it on the Jubilee. I'm a big fan of it on the Jubilee. Yeah, this would be the travel watch, GMT Meister 2. And then someone else is looking to join here. Oh, we got Saad.
Yes.
Hello, Saad.
Hey. Hello, my brothers.
Saad,
what's going on?
What's
going on?
How are you doing?
What's the topic for today, guys?
We're just riffing with the chat right now. So, so he's asking my six piece collection. So obviously, another watch that I do have is the Hulk, and definitely a piece that I would be putting into the collection. I think it's the diver, but it's unique enough in that you have a unique sunburst green gold dial. So the Hulk would be my, what was that, 4? 1, 2.
No, it's 5th, I think.
That was the 5th? All right, so that's the 5th, and I got to find me a chronograph, because I didn't pick the perpetual calendar chronograph, but But I would go with the Speedmaster Hesalite, and I'm going to go with the 3861. I do enjoy the 3861. I'm probably one of the only people in the world that actually likes the bracelet. To me, this watch, modern.
No, there is another person also showcase.
Does he like the bracelet? I wasn't sure if he liked the bracelet or not. A lot of people hate the bracelet. Yeah, a lot of people hate the bracelet. I like it. But for me, this watch, I believe that and I've always kind of not been a really big chronograph guy, but whenever I've had a chronograph in my collection, it's been a moon watch. I've never owned a Daytona. I am looking to probably purchase one in the next couple of weeks to actually try it out to see if I do like it, and this may change. But for now, for me, the moon watch 3861.
I think you will like it, then. But will you get it in steel if you like it, or some precious metal?
No, I'm probably going to get it in steel.
Okay.
Because I'd wear it too, right? Like, it wouldn't be a piece that I would be. And like we found out about Higgins yesterday. Apparently, Higgins has a Daytona, but he has it fully stickered, hiding in a safe. So
yeah, he's not a true enthusiast if he's doing that, huh?
I guess not. I guess he's not, right? So
he will take it to his grave, I think.
Yeah, and look, LV, he kind of asked the dream 6-piece common meal deal, and I mean, I could have quoted pieces that are just completely unobtainium, but I thought that these pieces are all attainable. Some of them I already have in my collection, and I think they bring a pretty well-rounded collection to me. Something I like. Obviously a couple of different diverse brands. I did double up in the Rolex side, but that's the case. Stephen ML saying,
sorry, this 3861 is an insanely accurate movement. I think over a week it was, plus 4 seconds, something like that.
Yeah, really, so they run 0 to +5 is the Metas certification. And yeah, look, I've owned 2 of them actually. I sold one of them, and I bought another one, and both of them were running at about +2, so extremely accurate. And I always kind of make the joke around when Don Haynes had his 1861. His 1861 ran at like +30 seconds or some shit. And he complained to, I guess, his Omega AD, and they came back saying it's running within spec. So poor guy got like dummied by his 1861. He ended up getting it regulated by, I guess, an independent that got it within what was acceptable to him. But yeah, these 3861s being with the Meta certification, anti-magnetic, chronometer certified. A lot of people will harp on the fact that they're not water resistant. That's fine, right? I'm not swimming with this watch. But yeah, look, overall, to me, you talk about a 6-piece dream collection. I'd probably talk about dreams that I can achieve, and those would be probably what I'd be looking for. Frank Lee says,
"Have you ever owned a day date before?"
Never owned a day date. I own Datejust. I've owned many Datejust. I do own a Datejust 2 still.
Then do you prefer platinum or platinum?
I prefer platinum. I think platinum has really caught wildfire here in the watch YouTube space. Yeah, look, if I was to buy platinum, I'd probably be looking at platinum for a day date or Patek, whether it's a complication or even the basic
one is beautiful, mashallah.
Yeah.
Which one does Hisham have?
He has the 228206.
It's an ice blue dial with blue hands and markers
and dome bezel.
I see. Okay, I'll pull it up here.
So it's kind of like the Mark Wahlberg one, but it's not in Arabic.
Yeah, it's interesting. Hisham, I think, has a bit of a smaller wrist too. So some of these watches, I think he kind of, sometimes asks like, "Hey, is this fit?"
But his one has the blue hands and markers. This is
the second generation dial, I would say.
Blue hands and markers.
Yeah, look, the guy's wrist, I think. With the jacket and the shirt.
The one sitting on the one on the right. Yeah, this one. Yeah, this one.
Yeah. Frank B says the war between Omega Seiko fanboys and Rolex fanboys on YouTube is at an all-time high. What do you guys think?
I think Rolex is way ahead of Omega.
It depends who it's for. If someone's got the money, they've got a relationship with an AD, then obviously Rolex. But if somebody, for plebs, plebs like me, I think like for the price of one Daytona, you can get 3 really decent Omega watches.
So Zoso says the Langematic Perpetual is nicer than the Patek. So understand
Some
this,
Langas are much nicer. Yeah.
yeah, I think look, I think a lot of people need to understand too that the 3940 is a vintage watch. It's not a modern, it's a 36 millimeter. It's before Thierry Stern was even running Patek Philippe. It was his father. So, it's a different era, right? And in an era that Lange was probably either in its infancy when it returned, or may not have even been around, right? So, I think it's a different, a lot of people do this, right? They compare Lange to, other brands and stuff like that in terms of like, the finishing. And I don't disagree that Lange's finishing is better in certain areas. Yeah, absolutely it is. But, I do also like to point out to a lot of folks that like a lot of these brands that have, the freedom to do all this work today necessarily wouldn't exist if it wasn't for brands like Vacheron, Patek, AP, Rolex, all these brands that, got through the quartz crisis, that were instrumental in bringing back, wristwatches, in terms of people wanting to get into the hobby or buy watches because of the beauty, because of it not being just about accuracy, but being about, luxury, being about finishing and whatnot, which has given, a springboard for a lot of brands, whether it's Lange or Chapek or other brands that have come out that do extraordinary work. To me, it's that there is a bit of that needs to be talked about. But yeah, look, it's I think that for me, it's like comparing, and I think I had Red Shovel on the show one day, and I asked him, the most iconic, or I think the best Rolex Submariner, and he said the Hulk, right? And obviously, if someone asked me that question, I'd say stuff like the 6538 or the 1680 Red or 5513 Explorer dial. I mean, there's such a breadth of stuff that existed in the past that modern stuff, a lot of folks will just say, well, the modern's better. Well, it is in certain cases, but I think in other cases, there is points to be had for other pieces of vintage. So
yeah, it depends what you're looking for. If you want to watch that is modular, versatile, you can interchange stuff, play around with it, change straps or bracelets because of the Hulls case, then you're not really going to look at a modern Rolex,
Yeah, it's contentious, right? It's contentious because in this, I think a lot of it died with the super case, right? Like a lot of people were really psyched off by the super case and the 40 millimeter, and because the case changed so much, you weren't putting them on NATOs anymore. Like I think your only option was really a rubber B, and then now they slimmed down the lugs on the Submariner, which makes it a little bit better, but it's still not the same as it was in five digit or older, right?
I've probably said this before, but I prefer Everest to rubber B because you don't have to cut the strap. They're always kind of sized in number of oyster links, so you can get them in 4, 5, 6, or 7. So if you have, say, 4 and 6 oyster links, you get the 7.4 or 7 and 7.6, and then it sizes with the clasp almost exactly.
For me, I always was a little psyched off by luxury watches being sold on rubber straps, like the Aquanaut. Like when I was buying my Nautilus, I was just like, I couldn't understand it. I'm like, I can't believe people are paying this kind of money for a rubber strap. Like it doesn't really, I'd want, either, even though look, like it's not like an alligator strap's worth a ton of money either, but at least make me feel like I'm buying something that's luxury, right? So it was always a contentious point with me when it came to the Aquanaut, and rubber straps in and of themselves. Now, obviously, I'll put a rubber strap on anything cheap that I own, which I have no problems with. But I think anything high end, I probably would shy away from it. But hey, there's tons of people who love the Oyster Flex, and hey, more power to you, if you do or not. Stiefel says my Daytona is one of the least worn watches in my box. It's small and wears like it. It's a common complaint I hear about the Daytona. ABC Saad, do you guys have any Daytonas in the collection? What do you guys think?
My father did.
I have one 116520, and I think it's okay. It has no issues with the size. It looks great. on the wrist.
Which did you have, the white dial or the black dial?
White.
Yeah, my
Looks
dad
very
had a
nice.
16520 black dial.
Okay, that was the Zenith one, huh?
Yeah.
Swing Kangaroo says date 836 platinum, fluted, ice blue diamond would be his jam.
Beautiful.
Dodger, you were on a few hours ago, and I guess you guys were running the drama stream, so I got to run the watch stream, because we need to bring a bit of balance in the Archieverse. If there's too much drama, a black hole can get created and just everything gets sucked in. So we got to bring a bit of.
But Dodger's actually got some decent pieces, and you don't really know that. You normally know him for the drama side of things, or the settling dispute side of things, or being the voice of reason. But he's actually got some really nice watches.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was really happy when I saw Dodger get his Pepsi. To me, like I said, that the modern ceramic Pepsi is a one and done for a lot of people. I think it's a piece that everybody should experience at least once. And like I said, when I went to the Rolex event when it got released, it was, when I put that watch on, I was like, yeah, this is a perfect watch. Whereas I said the next year when they did the Batgirl, it was a completely opposite experience for me. I didn't feel that the Jubilee went well with the Batgirl. So I'm more of a Batman type of person.
Saad, what do you think of these modern GMTs? Batman, Batgirl, Pepsi, on Jubilee, or on Oyster. What do you think of them?
I actually really like them. I even like the black, which I don't know why people don't like it. It's a very interesting. I would prefer that over a Submariner any day of the week.
You know what's funny? When I first was looking to buy a watch from an AD, I remember walking in and I saw the Submariner date was sitting in the showcase beside a black, and I had no idea what the difference was. And I was just like, they just look the same, right? So I was like,
100%. Yeah, you're right.
Most people out there won't know the difference between the two, like the minute details that we look at. Like a passerby would assume it's a sub or just a Rolex, right?
Well, I remember, I think it was around 2015. The 16610 was around about £5,000, maybe £6,000, and the black ceramic was just below. That was the dog of all GMTs.
And the prices have increased now, right? ABC.
Oh yeah, but when they discontinued it, then it went up to about £10,000, and it's probably around about 11 now, maybe 12. I don't know.
I pulled up the 16610. We can talk about this. We can talk about the 16610 because I know ABC is a pretty passionate guy about that piece. Der Stiefel says, I've been wearing Rolex and Omega much less frequently these days. Getting a little tiresome of the same old stuff for years on end. Feeling the burnout for sure and exploring new brands. He says, yeah, man, I think that's important. I think that the journey of the watch collector, I think, often centers around Rolex, where folks get into Rolex wherever either they start there or they build themselves up into getting into Rolex. And after obviously enjoying Rolex for a number of a period of time, they will in the sense of wanting variety, like you're describing, branch out. And oftentimes
I'll be back in a minute. Just got to drop the family off somewhere.
Yeah, no worries, ABC. Yeah, take your time.
See you in a bit.
But yeah, often folks will branch out and look at other pieces besides Rolex. But I think that most serious watch collectors will have some affinity for Rolex and or have Rolexes in their collections. So I think that that's not unusual. Der Stiefel. I think it's just it's just a period of where you're at and what you're looking to get. And I think that you'll probably still have some Rolex, and just getting away from it for a bit. A bit of time heals all wounds, Der Stiefel. I think you may be back to the crown once you come back on the journey.
So 10, I WhatsApp you one watch that, and I've also sent article of the same. It's a not too famous brand, I would say. It's a niche brand. So if you like to discuss that.
Yeah, let's pull it up here. Hold on. Oh, sorry, I got a bunch of tabs open and I need to pick the right one here. All right, so this is Andreas Strehler, Papillon d'Or.
Yeah.
Papillon is butterfly in français. Papillon d'Or, and that means a gold butterfly, which you can obviously see from the design. You can see gold butterfly here very easily on the design. That is where the name comes from, Papillon d'Or. Let's see a bit about this watch. Independent watchmaker, obviously they're describing. It's an exclusive, very limited production. Let's have a look. Well, it's an open work piece, and
do you like it?
Look, I'm not a huge fan of open work movements, to be totally honest with you. It's not really my cup of tea, but I mean, that's an interesting looking. If you look at the crown too, look at this crown's pretty interesting. I don't know. I'm a bit out to lunch on this one. I mean, you know, is it aesthetically pleasing? It could be okay. It's just not, like I said, I'm not a huge open work type of a guy, so I'm kind of, I'll say I'm out to lunch on it. I'm not no real positives, no real negatives here on this specific piece. What do you like about it, Saad? What's kind of got you looking at this one?
I kind of like it. I like the work on it, the butterfly design, and I think it is more beautiful than many of these open watches that we see.
Yeah, so it's describing their finishing. It has they say every part's finished by hand with black polish on the screws, straight or concentric graining, circular graining. The amount of internal angles is impressive. We bet you to count them. All right,
Is there any watch where the watch is finished by legs instead of hands?
I think if it was finished by legs, Mike the Snake would be
okay.
He would be the one finishing most watch movements out there if they're finished by legs. But yeah, I mean, you talk about internal angles, right? You got angles here, internal angles. You know, it's they're describing how it's very difficult to finish this piece, which, you know, I can appreciate. But just that in and of itself doesn't really necessarily make a watch. And I think a lot of people start with, hey, is it aesthetically pleasing? Is it, you know, obviously I describe, you know, the golden butterfly. It's pretty straightforward to see, but that is the theme of the piece. And then, you know, going from there is what do you see of value in this watch? And I don't know if it says the price of this piece. I don't know if it said anything, how much it was.
And one question I would like to ask you, it's a weird question, but whenever you meet a new person, somebody new, do you first look at his wrist, what he's wearing, and then analyze what kind of guy he is?
Not really. Most people don't wear watches these days anyways, right? So, you know, I'd probably notice it if it's something that's noticeable, right? So yeah, I mean, if I notice it, sure. And yeah, I guess it, you know, it depends on, you know, most people would be, you know, wearing a generic Rolex, Submariner, GMT. You know, I wouldn't really think much of it because there's just a lot of people that buy those watches because they're popular. If they were wearing a Longa or a Patek or something like that, right? Like it definitely could go down the route of them being a watch collector and or just being, you know, a person of good taste, I would say. What about you, Saad? Do you judge people by what's on their wrist?
Yeah, I do that. You know, you need to have some kind of hints. I can understand the quality of suit. If they are wearing no watch, then I look at the suit, the tie, you know, the shoes. These kind of things actually look, I mean, though what I'm talking may look a little bit weird, but these kind of things are psychologically important when you are analyzing a person.
Whole Milk says, Strehler did Moser's perpetual calendar that can go back and forth. He's one of the best living watchmakers.
What do you think of a person who has a Lamborghini Countach?
I know a few people that have them, and some people have fake ones. I know that. I've seen people with fake or replica Lamborghini Countaches that actually try to tell people it's real. And those people, I think, are the scum of the earth. I don't think you should be capping or lying about, you know, what's real and what's not. It's like someone wearing a fake watch. But
what kind of a person Lamborghini owner is generally? Is he a humble person like you, or most of them are cocky?
And I would describe a lot of Lamborghini owners as lone wolves. They don't have the there's not really the sense of community I've seen from Lamborghini that you see in Porsche or Ferrari, where people are just fanatic about the brand and all they want to do is talk, about the cars. And Lamborghini owners are just kind of lone wolves. Whenever I've encountered them, they'll appreciate another car, but they don't really. They may not be car people. You often see with Lamborghini owners. So, but it's similar to how people would describe a Rolex owner, right? You've got most Rolex owners probably just care for it for a status symbol, whereas there's probably a small percentage of them, that are probably sitting here that actually collect because they like, horology, or they like watches themselves. So, yeah, I would say it's similar to that, right? Where there's a lot of people just looking for a status symbol.
The professor will join in a while. Just announced. Okay, one more question about Lamborghini, then we go back to the topic. So, I think Lamborghini is more stylish than a Ferrari. I like it more. It's more glamorous. Is that right?
I would say that the current designs of Lamborghinis are a lot more stylish.
Wow.
Ferrari for a long time had some pretty beautiful designs. The Pininfarina designs. Like I love the Testarossa, for example. I love the F40. I even like the F50, to be totally honest with you. But
will you ever get a Ferrari?
A modern one, no.
Okay.
I'd get a classic Ferrari, but I wouldn't get a modern one. I just look the F8 Tributo. This doesn't sound very good. Looks okay. I'd say the last V8 that actually sounded nice from Ferrari was the 458. But I had a friend of mine who was watching JJ's show the other day, and he owns a 812 super fast. He has a V12 Ferrari, and his car sounds very good. But I'm just not a big fan of the front engine Ferraris, to be honest with you.
Introducing the professor.
Hello, Professor.
Hello.
Rise with Mail says Lamborghini is a tractor, and so is Porsche, by the way. Porsche also had a long history of tractors. CS is asking, what's my opinion on the Patek Antarctique Rattrapante? Everyone's talking about their standard dials. This watch seems to be forgotten already. 77 pieces. I'll pull up Chapek's website here. I think that the most I've really heard on Chapek has been around folks just not getting delivery of their pieces. I think there's a bunch of folks that have Antarctiques either on order but haven't actually got their piece. Let's look this up. Rattrapante. Maybe there's a video here. Let's see if I can play this video. All right, that's the video. For those that are not familiar, Rattrapante is, I think John covered Rattrapante yesterday on his show, but essentially simple terms, split seconds chronograph. Let's see if I can, is there one just of the watch? Here we go, Antarctique Rattrapante silver gray. All right, Professor, is this a keep it or bin it type watch for you? You're gonna bin this watch? Do you like it? Do you dislike it?
Thanks.
Sorry, we didn't.
How much is this watch? How much is this
46,000 Swiss francs, excluding that.
Okay. It's interesting. It's an interesting watch.
All right, so Professor hasn't immediately binned the watch, Saad. 46,000 Swiss francs, 77 pieces only. I know there's a lot of fans out there that love the simple Chapeks as CS is describing. Everyone's talking about the standard dials. What do you think of the split seconds chronograph?
Then I don't understand one thing. Why are most of the watches in their 40s, 40,000, 35,000? Why are they priced like that?
Yeah, look, it's the Swiss industry is an interesting one. You know, often I don't know if you ever heard the story about Tag Heuer when they came out with a $15,000 tourbillon, and Patek Philippe and a bunch of other manufacturers got pissed off with them for doing it because they felt um, it's devaluing everyone else's work or the I guess the industry in and of itself. So you know, part of it is also I'd say some of it's price protection. They want to make sure that the prices are reflective of it being a luxury good. So yeah, I mean not everything's. You've seen a lot of watches the past couple of weeks come out around this price point, like the Piaget Polo Perpetual was around 58,000. Um, this is a split second chronograph at around 46,000. So similar prices. It's not. I wouldn't say it's off. In that sense, but you're probably assuming that the Chapek doesn't have a huge or great resale value, you should be able to get this on a discount if it ever does come for sale. Now there only are 77 of these, so I don't think that would happen, but there is that chance that it could happen.
How more expensive is your Audemars Piguet compared to this?
Oh, the Audemars is a lot cheaper than this. I can pull it up.
Bargain.
Yeah,
I would say even if it's cheaper, I will still buy the Audemars Piguet.
Close up here, 15,500.
It at least has a proper heritage.
So this is my piece on the website. So this is 23,800 Swiss francs for mine.
And what's the actual price? I mean, market price. This is all bullshit.
Well, this is the retail price, right? I was comparing retail to retail. You'd say market price is probably like between 33 and 37, kind of depending on year, depending on condition, depending on it being a full set and stuff like that. So slightly over. I mean, it's not slightly. It's over retail, almost 40%.
Ten. I've seen your video where the guy was removing stickers from your new Audemars when you purchased it. I watched that video like 50 times, if not more.
Yep.
I really like that video.
Oh, you just like the video of the guy?
It's a very different feeling when you buy a watch so rare and it's brand new. Most of the people, they buy pre-owned these kind of watches.
Hans Toes says, Chapek is Emperor's clothes. Oh, the watch we must like, as respected by others, just you don't get bought in. I don't know what that means. But he says they're fugly watches. And Fries with Mayo says, basic Royal Oak by all means. He'd probably go with that. Whole milk. Says, Audemars Piguet never worked with Patek. Pull up AP Open Works for fair comparison. Sure, I can pull up an AP Open Work.
Professor, will you go for Audemars Piguet or Chapek?
Professor is taking really long to think about that.
I think your watch is much better looking, Tan. 100% better looking. You have an outstanding taste.
Yeah, I like simple. I don't need to have it be like elaborately. And there's people that love open works, right? They love the look of the open work watches on the AP. I think Professor just dropped off connection issues, but yeah, I think folks just different people like different things, and I don't find this watch to be ugly at all. I do like this, and I've I think he's back. Yeah, here we go. Professor's back. Professor, you had a question from Saad. Would you take the Antarctique or would you take an AP?
Antarctic. Or what?
The Chapek, Antarctique, or the AP Royal Oak? What are you going to take?
Oh, which Royal Oak?
This Royal Oak.
Oh, okay. Just because everybody is chewing over the same food, I would take the Chapek.
So Saad, he says, bin the Royal Oak.
Yeah,
bin the
Royal Oak is a supermarket now.
Yeah,
everybody
Thomas.
Wants to be anybody wants to get an AP.
Thomas Broadbent's asking price on the AP. Retail 23,800 Swiss francs. Secondary market probably mid 30s, I would say right now, depending on condition, age, and whether it's a full set or not.
Yeah, and it's AP is a one-trick pony. They can keep the pony, and we can stay with the trick.
Mr. Zoso says, never thought of getting an AP. Mr. Zoso, so did I. I never thought of getting an AP until I put one on the wrist, and then I fell in love with it. So, I would highly recommend you try it out just to see if you like it. You may hate it, you may love it, but yeah, it's still. I always recommend people to try on pieces because they may be pleasantly surprised.
But try and repair it, and then we'll see.
Yeah, Professor, all these watches are pay to play, right? Like Patek Philippe's pay to play. All these pieces.
Patek is a ripoff.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like AP, Patek, they're all going to be expensive to repair. So
Patek is for those who have a net worth of above 50 million. The rest is junk. Below 100,000 is for the poor. It's for the paupers. But people don't get this. They get into the thinking that they're also wealthy.
Thomas Broadbent says price on the AP OpenWorks likely 3x the Chapek. This version of OpenWorks not appealing to me. Workmanship may be valued closer to Chapek itself. Yeah, I think Thomas Broadbent. Like I said, I think most people are just spiked off with Chapek right now, just because they haven't got their pieces. They haven't got any of their watches yet. So,
Professor, are you using some Hoppies number 9 or something for the barrel or no?
The what?
Hoppies number 9. Any cleaning solvent, anything?
I'm using M Pro 7.
Is this what is it called? Cleaning, lubricant, and protector.
Yeah.
CLP.
Yeah.
Okay.
It does everything for you.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah.
It's you can actually put it in your watch as well, but Rolex doesn't need one. But all these Chapek, Mapek.
We use ghee in Pakistan on our watches.
Ghee is excellent. I tell you, ghee is even better. You don't take it to the AD. You just open it yourself and put ghee all over. It will work perfect.
Yeah, 1 spoon of ghee and it becomes a little bit slow. Like
your arteries. It helps the arteries as well.
Yeah, it clogs you.
Yeah.
So
it brings you closer to life.
Okay.
So this piece on the. I was going to say, guys.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say this piece on the screen is actually pretty interesting. Key de Belle, and it's 31,800 Swiss francs. It's a pretty simple looking piece, but it has an enamel dial. It has fleur de lis, and this is for anybody who's Canadian will recognize that from Quebec.
It's a very beautiful watch, 10, but the only problem is the name on it. Just remove it and put Audemars Piguet or Patek Philippe. It will look even better.
I think that, the finishing that you're going to get on this is definitely going to be a step above those, because even if you look here, obviously you got blued screws, you can see anglage all the way up here, pretty rounded anglage. You've got internal angles here, and you can see the internal angles are rounded off. So there's a lot of hand finishing that goes into this piece. So definitely, for 31,800 Swiss francs, this is actually pretty good value. And I think that's the comment that Thomas Broadbent was talking about was, for the money, he feels that the value is pretty high. It's pretty high up there for Chapek. He says Chapek is hustling European style.
Yeah, Chapek had a relationship in the 1860s, 1880s with Patek.
Yeah, so that's not who this is though. Like the brand itself is distance. They basically have said we have no ties to the Chapek that you're describing, who was was not the original founder with Patek.
You're referring to the Kosovar Albanian Chapek.
Well, I don't know who they're specifically saying is the name named after this brand.
Yeah.
You have a super chat.
All right, super chat here. Swing Kangaroo, $5. To me, buying high horology and worrying about service costs is like buying exotic cars and complaining about miles per gallon. If you're ready to buy one, service is nothing. It's a good comment. I often hear at Swing Kangaroo around, like, my friends that have exotic cars who are just kind of worried about the mileage. Like,
I would like to Yeah, you're right, Dan, but I would like to bring to Swinging Kangaroos one thing in his notice that you know how a person becomes rich when he is careful with his spending. So I have seen many people who are very careful on what to buy, what not to buy. They are careful about the car they are purchasing, everything. And this makes them, save money on the longer run. It becomes their habit and they are rich in as a result.
Well, if Higgins
They're
is watching,
really rich.
Higgins can tell us why he's safe cleaning his Daytona.
Oh,
Sad,
But that's
they're
what
really
people do.
wealthy
Right?
people. They're really wealthy people. Don't give a shit about watches.
I
But
see.
I think that's what a lot of people, you know, I mean, look, wealthy
They're,
people are
I mean,
not right.
wealthy. I'm not saying 50, 60, 100 million. I'm talking about in the billions. They don't give a shit about watches.
Some of them don't give a shit about cars. Some of them don't give a shit about watches. Some of them do, right? Like I've seen people from all walks of life that are interested in these things, and I don't think it's limited to any demographic like that. But
No, it's wealth.
yeah,
It's not demographic. It's wealth.
I think folks are just talking about, like, hey, when you buy an exotic car, you
Super chat.
complain about. Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
get
yeah.
to that one. I'll get to
Point.
that one.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
they talk about, like, when you buy an exotic car or you buy a high horology watch, and then people are complaining about the servicing, right? It's like, well, yeah, I mean, you're not buying, you're not buying that at Movement. You're not buying something that
But
everybody is going to be able to service. So
Tan, I'll give you an example of my friend who has a lot of money, real money. He's above 500 million net worth,
mhm.
and he worries about how much he pays to repair. I told you his AP and his Patek and all that. So very wealthy people do become penny
Wise.
fool. Yeah, penny fools.
Some do. There are a lot that don't, right? A lot that understand and find that it's all relative, right? It's all relative. And people ask me the question, well, how much does it cost to service a Lamborghini? And I'm like, well, actually, it's very similar to the cost of servicing a Porsche, at least in the modern ones, because you have parts that are shared with, you know, at the manufacturer. Whether it's Audi, they're sharing parts amongst cars and whatnot. So, and you still pay, even then, you still pay a Lambo tax for the Lamborghini branded parts and stuff like that. So we'll go to Dodgy's super chat here, $5. A professor, would you consider starting a YouTube channel? If so, what would it be about, and what would you call it? I would subscribe immediately.
Who's that? Dodgy. Who's
Dodgy.
Dodgy? Do we know Dodger? Is the
No, no,
gentleman?
I don't think it's Dodger. It's somebody else.
it's another
Yeah.
dot.
I will not do anything without my great friends, Saad and Tan.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Professor.
I will not do anything. And of course, I would love to always have in the audience and live. I have a lot of respect for the rationality of Mr. Zoso. Honestly,
Mr.
you know,
Zoso is in the chat. Yes, he's in the chat.
he's a wonderful person and he brings a lot of sense. And I agree with him, by the way. The thing that got me going was when you guys were talking about Rolex and all of that, and do you look at somebody's watch? Certainly, I look at somebody's watch, especially when he comes to see me to offer a business opportunity, and I look at his watch, and if I can, his car and his appearance. So if he comes in with a flashy watch and a crazy proposal, I kick him out. And sometimes people leave the office crying. And it means a lot, having it tells you a lot about the person, the watch he carries. Yeah, yeah.
Jimmy says, I have the perfect name for Professor's YouTube channel. They can keep it.
They can keep it. Yes.
They can keep it.
The other thing we can do is we can visit the ADs of all these watch brands, and we can do like a mystery shopper.
Professor, what will you think about a person who is wearing a watch that Higgins bought for himself, that Jimmy Choo or something?
Jimmy
Not
Choo?
Jimmy
No,
Choo,
you mean
Benjamin Cie. Benjamin
John
Cie.
Benjamin. Yeah, Jimmy Choo. That's the shoes. Jimmy Choo is not bad actually.
Yeah, but they
Yeah,
are owned by that other brand. What is it called? Who bought it? Jimmy Choo?
yeah. Jimmy Choo is a private equity fund. Yeah,
No.
uh,
But it was bought by some other brand now.
yeah. I know what you mean. I don't remember, but look, Mr. Higgins is a special person. He does it because of his fascination for the watch, and what I like about him is that he wears them. He wears the watch. He is at an age that he wants to enjoy the watch. He produced it the way he wanted, and that's it. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I'm fine. It's
You
beautiful.
you
Somebody,
trust him?
in what sense? I'm not going to marry him.
He's asking if you trust the Higgins. Do you trust his knowledge? Do you think he's got an ulterior motive? What do you think?
What do you? Nobody is listening, Professor. Just tell us.
I don't know. Who cares?
No. I care.
Not
Tell me.
making. I'm not making a business transaction. We're not going to marry each other.
Okay, so if there is a business transaction, you won't do that. That means, huh?
No, I mean, meaning that we're not doing business together. He just appears saying, "This is what I got from Jimmy Choo or Muchi Choo, whatever his name is, Kung Fu," and this is the watch I got. I got the
You know, he
country.
was wrong at that wall time. Who made the wall time? If you have noticed that, he thought he gave a wrong information. So that is why I was asking.
Look, we're not able to be transparent in this YouTube. Everybody hides their names, their faces. One is called whatever. The other one is whatever, plastic. The other one is Sirocco, I am professor. I mean, yeah, he knows by himself if he lies or not, or does it for ulterior motives.
But what do you, from your experience, do you think that he sometimes do?
No, take them as they come. We're not judging people. I'm
What
not.
kind of what kind of China ware is that on yours? That is that gardener? What is it?
What is it? What?
The China ware on top of your head.
Oh yeah, this is some plates, collectible plates.
We got a question here for you, Professor, from Yasha. Yasha V says, "Is steel Rolex considered flashy by you, Professor?"
Steel Rolex, old ones, not flashy. The brand new, if somebody shows up with a Jubilee bracelet, Pepsi, or the Daytona, for sure, steel Daytona, he's out of the office. I kick him out.
Why do you call it Pepsi?
Pepsi.
Pepsi.
I call it shawarma Pepsi.
Pepsi. How would they say Pepsi in Greece? Is it Pepsi as well, or is it just Pepsi?
No, because the Arabs cannot pronounce the B and the V, and so they call it Pepsi. And the people, they call them people. And barking, they call it barking.
They call Porsche.
Pepsi, people. The people. So, if he comes with a flashy Jubilee Pepsi and the Daytona white dial Banda, he's out of the office. I kick him out because he buys the shit. He buys the hyped shit. That means that he's making a lot of money off me.
John Galt says, "Hype freaks need not apply."
Not apply. And of course, if he comes with a dial with a diamond encrusted bezel, he doesn't even get a meeting.
What if a person comes with a day date?
That day date is worn by principals. So if I go and see a principal of a company, the owner that is, and he wears a day date, respect. But if his employees come and see me with a day date, they're out of the office.
What if he's wearing Marcelo Debris?
No, no, Marcelo, forget. I mean, he's a cook. Forget this. He's a cook. He can buy anything he wants. He's a master of his own, but he doesn't ask for other people's business, you know. So if you are an investment banker and you're selling a product, you know, you're Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan, you come with a day date with diamonds, you leave. You know, most of these guys, the senior guys, chairman and all that, they all wear Apple. Of course, they're
Now, why
making
is
crazy
that? I don't
bonuses.
understand. It doesn't look nice, Professor.
Which one?
The Apple Watch.
I know,
Where?
but
Yeah.
also here there is a charade going on because some of them do understand that it's not nice to appear with these watches. So they all downgrade themselves to an Apple. And in the weekends, they all wear Richard Mille. You know, that's another way to game the sector. Anyway, you asked for my opinion. So if a young guy appears with a very expensive watch, you know, what is an expensive watch? You know, if he comes up with a brand new smack blue, whatever, bluesy or Pepsi, he's out.
Do you think, Professor, a time will come that people will stop wearing these expensive watches? Totally. Like,
You know,
trends change. Pocket watch was replaced by wristwatches, something like that, huh?
it's difficult. It's difficult to say, Saad, because a lot of the young generation, the 20-30-year-olds, apparently, statistically, the generation Z, sorry, the millennials are saving a bit more money now than the old guys, the boomers like myself, and the ones following us in their 40s and 50s. They're spending more, and this is a generational thing because the 40 and 50-year-olds think that, look, we're going to die more or less in 20-30 years. They'll all be dead, or they will be about to die because they'll have complications, so they spend more. The young ones are spending less money on material goods and more on experiences, so they don't buy the watches, but they buy visits and experiences and going to places and going to expensive restaurants. That's a trend. If they decide not to buy watches, the Swiss are fucked. They'll be selling watches to the cows. And if the Chinese come on board, like Chi Mi Kung Fu Lee, they'll end up competing with the Chinese, who 20 years ago, everybody was laughing that they're going to be producing cars. Today, they're the largest exporters of electric vehicles.
So we have a question here, and we have a new guest here as well. We got the rancher here. So the rancher, I know, will probably chime in on this question, but this one's for you, Professor. Can King Charles keep his Parmigiani?
He can keep the Parmigiani and put Bolognese and eat the spaghetti.
Clivers, what's happening? You like your Parmigianis?
Yeah, I love my Calpa Hebdomadaire. Of course, Parmigiani Fleurier, Calpa Hebdomadaire. That's not a name. That's damn near a sentence.
That is true. That is very true. And Shamba Basher says Prince William always wears his Seameister. I think that was given to him by his mother. So probably
that is a very reasonable guy. One watch, wear it, enjoy it, forget the rest.
He says Harry, on the other hand, prefers a Polar Explorer too. Not
Harry doesn't know his penis from his ass.
This is from Forbin here for you, Clive. Would you prefer the full name Parmigiani or PF just on the dial?
I kind of like the name Parmigiani occasionally, but Parmigiani Fleurier is just a bit of a mouthful. And it's just like, again, you understand the genius of Hans Wilsdorf in coming up with the name for his watch company. It's a watch
No, go ahead, Clive.
No, it's a watch that no one can take a dump on in any language.
Fries with Mayo says, hi, Rancher. Boys, we're going to pivot to another watch release. The IWC Portugueser automatic with a salmon dial. Professor, you and I talked about this a few days back. The salmon dial. Everybody's going salmon. What do you think?
It looks like it's water damaged, this color.
How much is this watch?
These aren't that expensive. I think they're.
Okay.
I'll pull it up.
What's expensive?
7,600 euros.
Oh my goodness!
It's just a Portugueser. It's a Portugueser. It's not a crazy piece.
Yeah, but I always thought of the Portugueser as more of a chronograph.
Yeah, this is just this is a basic Portugueser automatic 40 millimeter diameter. I think it's more about the dial. Everyone's going salmon. Salmon is the craze. It used to be green, now it's salmon. Everybody's chasing salmon and capers. Does anybody on the panel like the salmon trend, or do you think it's a little tacky?
Actually, I'm gonna get some smoked salmon out of the fridge while we're talking about this. Now I think about it.
Clive is gonna go get himself a salmon and cream cheese bagel. Saad, you're not a big fan of salmon, and Professor.
It looks like it's like a worn watch. You know, there is some problem with the dial. It needs replacing this kind of color.
Professor is not a huge fan. Now I'm gonna pull up another Portugueser. This is the Bear Clooney Portugueser. Bear, if you're watching, you'll definitely recognize this. Archie hated
Put up
this
some
piece.
rich guys' watches. These are for poor people.
Oh, this was Bear Clooney's Portugueser, and Archie hated it. I saw this one in person actually. The red dial is pretty nice, but yeah. Sorry, you're saying something, Clyde?
He had with the bracelet, huh?
I don't know. I don't remember. All I remember was the dial. I don't remember if it was on a bracelet or if it was on a strap.
Is this a rich man's watch?
Actually, I've seen it on some investment banker guys showing up. So this is the understated cheap watch that they wear.
Could be a rich man's watch. Forbin Colossus says, in which countries do they pronounce the L in salmon? I thought the Brits pronounced it salmon. In the United States and in Canada, we see salmon. We do not see salmon.
We call it salmonella here.
Yeah, the Brits, they're confused. I mean, forget the Brits for the 20 years.
They don't like it because it sounds close to salmon rusty.
Yeah, they're confused.
Yes. They think there's a fatwa against this. They think there's a fatwa against the style.
Clivers, what do you think? Salmon dial? Are you a fan? Do you hate it? Should we bin it?
I am not unilaterally opposed to salmon dials. I think they could have got better hands and better indices for this one.
Rancher, will you trust a person with the salmon dial?
Yeah, why not? It's just like that's almost as bad as asking, do you trust someone because he's a Sagittarius or his birth order sign or something? Come on. That's not really that's a joke question, obviously.
I was serious.
No, I don't see any reason to trust or distrust someone because
of the dial color.
Yeah, because of the dial color. I see a reason to trust or distrust someone because they're a beige otter. That's why. That's the only distinction I make.
Sir Stiefel says he prefers perch to salmon.
Yeah.
All right, let's pivot here, Saad. I know you like your jewel encrusted pieces. JLC creates a diamond adorned rendezvous dazzling night and day in emerald green. So I believe this is 36 millimeters. 36 millimeter pink gold sunray brush style, matching green alligator strap, decorated in 168 diamonds in concentric circles, totaling 3.43 carats. The dial has an inner circle of 47 diamonds, interrupted by a moon phase at 6 o'clock, where a pink gold crescent moon and stars slowly alternate with a polished golden sun. Dial is enriched with applied Arabic numerals in the same pink gold.
Rendezvous till I'm through with you.
I think it needs 2 tourbillons like balls. That will make it look better.
What do you hate about this watch, Saad? Like, what's really spiking you off about this watch?
I think I don't like the crown on this watch.
Saad is I don't mind the crown, actually. The crown's not bad. I don't mind the crown. I'm not a big fan of these numerals. I think they're just a little too much on the numerals. I like the moon phase. You got the inner concentric wheel here with diamonds, and then you got obviously diamond encrusted bezel, diamond encrusted lugs.
And also the stitching, it's not so good.
The stitching, boys, the stitching is not up to Curly standards of stitching. But obviously, definitely a piece that nobody's covered because I don't think anybody really cares about this watch. But does anybody on this panel really love this watch? Clyde, Professor, do you guys love this
No.
piece? Does anybody love it?
No, they can keep it.
They can keep it. Clyde, what do you hate about this watch? What do you dislike? Hate might be a strong word. What do you dislike?
No, hate is the correct word for this watch.
For Saad, hate is the correct word.
Rancher is eating the sandwich.
Rancher is he's taking
No,
a deep
actually, I
breath.
was going to get just some salmon out, but just smoked salmon, which is my favorite form of salmon.
Rancher, we got 64 people watching to hear you blast what you dislike about this watch.
Yeah, I actually do have one diamond bezel watch, frankly. So,
oh, do you? I didn't know you had a diamond bezel watch.
Yeah,
what
you never. Did you ever ask me? No,
I don't. Well, I don't know if it would ever come up. Like, well, now it did, Clyde. So talk to us about your diamond bezel watch.
I have a Daniel Roth with a diamond bezel.
Daniel Roth diamond bezel. Yep. Let me see if I can find it here. Diamond.
Actually, the original paperwork. I think the person originally, and it was a dude that got it from the company.
All right. So for those that want to see what the Minotaur Wrangler wears, when he's stunting in court, it would be this Daniel Roth diamond encrusted in jewels. I don't think this.
No, that's a little over the top. Not quite that one, but
not quite this one. All right. Let me know if you see it here, Clyde. I'm just scrolling through Daniel Roth.
Hold on. I actually have your address. Give me a second.
Yeah.
This is actually a nice design, to be honest.
I don't mind that one.
Yeah, it looks like a little bit on the Harry Winston side.
Please do not call my Winston Harry.
So while Clive looks that up, we'll go back to the JLC to see if anybody is a fan or not a fan. But a lot of folks are saying it's a ladies' watch. Foreman says Daniel Roth hangs over Cliver's headboard. Ooh. But yeah, definitely a piece that no one really covered because probably a ladies' watch, and I just can't see a lot of people being that interested in a release like this. But this release definitely, was contentious. I don't really see the snowflake effect here. So if anybody has a better picture of this newly released Grand Seiko GMT.
No, this is the best picture.
Almost looks like a bark dial.
I don't know who this is in the background.
Tell him to show his finger.
Yeah, just show your face or your finger or something, Ty K. Okay, here you go. Clyde sent this to me.
Make sure he doesn't show something else. Trust me, I learned that the hard way.
Well, yeah, like we don't know who they are. They gotta show their face or something. Let us know who they are. All right, I gotta send this to myself now on WhatsApp because I don't want to dox Clyde. There's many folks that would want to reach out to Clyde to buy his Lyrique. I don't want to dox him, so.
Actually, they're all kind of spoken.
All right, there's Ty. There's Ty K. How you going, Ty? Give us a wave. All right, there you go. It's on the stream. Ty, what's happening? Welcome.
Thanks for welcoming me. Sorry, my heart rate's going crazy. I've been watching for years. I just thought I'd just jump on.
Oh, you're welcome, man. Well, welcome to the panel. Welcome to the live stream. You're on with some legends like Clive Wrangler and Saad and the Professor. These guys are you've joined the right show. This is probably the show you're not going to get.
Are you Pyro's friend?
Sorry, what's that?
Are you Pyro's friend?
Pyro.
Pyro's no, he probably doesn't know Pyro.
Okay.
All right, so this is Clyde's Daniel Roth. Ty, what do you think of this? Would you roast this diamond encrusted watch, or is this up your alley? You like this? What do you think?
Well, actually, I wanted the watch. I was willing to overlook the diamonds, but I can live with the diamonds. Do I particularly like the diamonds? No.
Let's ask Ty, the new guy. Ty, what do you think? Is this your cup of tea or not?
I don't think so. Definitely not. Probably not within my price range.
This is
not quite my taste either.
Ty, what are you into? We're talking just we're kind of just riffing here. So you take us in another direction, Ty. What kind of pieces do you like? We can pull up something you like. And we can have a nice discussion.
And by the way, this is also a retrograde hours.
Retrograde hours, guys.
Yes.
Ty, what do you like? What do you want to? What do you want to see?
Yeah, look, I'm into like sort of multiple different brands. Like, you know, I'm not sort of brand loyal per se. You know, I enjoy, you know, Rolex. Everyone enjoys Rolex, Cartier, Tudor. You know, all the sort of, you know, well-known brands.
Cool, man. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with all of those brands. They all have some good pieces. Cartier's been a bit of a contentious point. A lot of folks we've been going back and forth between the Tank and the Santos being the icon in Cartier's range. I'm obviously a fan of the Santos. Don't really care for the Tank. Ty, are you a Santos fan? Do you prefer the Tank? Do you prefer another Cartier piece? I want to pull up a Santos
that's
here.
exactly the one I've got on wrist.
Let me put you full screen here. Let's put Ty full screen. Show us that piece. There you go. There you go.
That's a medium there, no date.
Is that a large or a medium?
Medium, no date. Because I've got pretty small wrists, and it's a classic size.
No, it looks really good, man.
Yeah. Cartier. It's like Rolex for old chicks. Cartier.
I think Cartier suits rancher a lot. You know, if he's wearing a Cartier watch and Cartier glasses, it will look great on him. It matches his personality.
Thank you. No, it doesn't. I appreciate it. I accept the compliment, but I disagree with it.
Clivers, do you have a Cartier in the collection? I don't know if you ever did or if you do have one in the collection.
Oh, I had a Pasha at one point.
Pasha?
Yeah.
Well,
I have thought about getting a Santos. I have, you know, I was thinking if it wasn't for the fact that I'm trying to I've looked at actually even recently, just like wanting, just like, but it's like, no, I need to consolidate. I need to parse the collection down.
Ty, I was going to ask Ty kind of what drove him to get the Santos over another Cartier, because you got the Ballon Bleu, you got the Tank, you got you know, a bunch of different lineups in the Cartier brand. Like, well, what kind of drove you to the Santos?
The Tank would be a close second.
Sorry, go on.
No, that's right. Go ahead.
Oh no, like I think when this one first came out, I was watching lots of YouTube videos on it, and it was actually a present from my wife. Actually, she surprised me with it, and she's very savvy. She got it at a good price, so yeah, and I just had it since for a couple of years now, and it's kind of a bit more dressier, and I enjoy it. It's a bit different to some of the other watches I have in my collection.
How do you feel about its usability on a day-to-day basis? Like, do you feel that, like, you know, with it being in steel, it's you can bang it around a bit more? It's not super delicate, or is it something you're a little bit more cautious with?
Yeah, like, look, I don't wear this as a daily, especially in my line of work, and it gets wear every now and again. Like if I go out to a nice restaurant, you know, just it more in a sort of dressed up situation, I'd wear this. But yeah, I treat it like delicately. Yeah.
Ty, we're going to throw you in the deep end here. You got a question here from the chat. Could a Santos be a one and done?
Or I don't think so. It's a bit more dressy.
A bit more dressy. So you feel that, like, wearing a casual, it doesn't work, or is it more like just you don't feel it?
I mean, it can be worn casually. It's just like I just don't knock it around as much. Like for that, I wear my Speedmaster 300.
Yep, that makes sense. Sense.
And I almost think one crucial difference between a dress watch and a sports watch is being knackered around a bit. A sports watch will look cool, it'll look rugged, but a dress watch or a casual watch will look dowdy. Like
this is a good point. I don't know if it was Professor or Higgins. It might have been Higgins who said that you ever see a Royal Oak bracelet after it's been used for 20 years, and it just doesn't look anywhere near nice, right? You know, Ty, for yourself, obviously you wear that Santos. Do you feel that, like, it, you know, once it gets used a bit, it could it really takes away from the piece's beauty, or are you okay with it just getting scratched up and being used?
Yeah, I sort of baby it, and I'll just show you this other one. I got my wife like Cartier Ballon Bleu, so we sort of
there you go.
I feel like this is pretty good value for money. So we just sort of wear these on date nights and things when we go out. So I do baby these. So
it's good to have a Cartier collector here, man.
Are you like Archie, where you have her, unless she wears like a really nice watch, you can't, well, you know.
She may be the one telling him to wear his nice watch.
Okay.
She may want to dress up and tell him to wear his nice watch, but you know, it's like Ty. There's just not a huge amount of folks that are big into Cartier, and on the ArchieLuxury channel, ArchieLuxury.
I totally disagree with that. I would pit Cartier. I'd still think it's a top. I think it's got so much brand recognition. It might be just white chicks, but seriously, it still has tons of it.
Yeah, that's not what I meant. I meant more about the people here on YouTube. It's not a brand that we talk about very often, I guess, on YouTube. But on this channel, and Ty, I don't know how long you've been watching Archie's channel, but in the past, he used to cover Cartier a lot. Like he loved the Cartier Panthère, the Pasha, Santos, the Tank. You know, those are watches that were heavily covered on his channel from years back. I don't know, Ty, have you been watching from that long, or are you just new to the Archie?
Oh no, I've been watching for a couple of years, maybe since like sort of 2019. So I probably missed all that stuff about Cartier, and it's a bit of a shame that he doesn't sort of delve into those things anymore.
Yeah.
So do you know about the Pantera? If you're regular to Archie's channel.
Mikey, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Good.
Yeah, the Panthère. That gives a segue to the Cartier Panthère, and I'll pull this up. This was Archie's favorite Cartier quartz Panthère. I think. I wonder if I guess Archie doesn't have too many videos up on it.
They only come in quartz.
Yeah, they're a quartz piece.
Well, I remember a long time ago. What is it? Tristan from Leo and Ferris.
Sorry, I'm not sure.
No, I wasn't talking to you, Alexa. Shut up. Sorry. Anyway, Tristan from Leo and Ferris was talking about the Cartier Tank, and he thought it was more of a style watch. Therefore, he opined that wearing a musty Cartier, even though it is a quartz movement, would be technically okay, or technically all right, or allowed, or permitted. I was just wondering what you thought.
Yeah, it's a good topic, Clyde, because the same could be said for Piaget, right? Like you're talking about two brands that are that are known for jewelry and also have obviously some horological history. And I'll just kind of pull us up into Piaget now. But a similar story, right, where they see it as a fashion, because it's linked to the jewelry piece of it. I don't perceive Cartier or Piaget as solely fashion brands, and they don't have any watch history. You're seeing even Hermes these days, getting into, I think they had a couple of GPHG winners as well on their side.
No.
So it's
now, has anyone watched the series Tulsa King?
No.
Okay.
I see Tiger King, but not Tulsa King.
Well, they're both based in Oklahoma, sadly enough. But during that, I can't help but notice that he wears a gold Piaget.
Okay.
And which I thought was appropriate because he went to federal prison 25 years ago. So it seems like something that someone in the late 90s or early 2000s would have bought.
Form Colossus with an excellent comment. He says, Clive's musty Cartier. You can smell his approach.
Let's see what you smell like when you get older.
Come on, Clyde. You used to laugh at these comments. That's a good one. That's a good.
Oh, that was. But yeah, I will admit at older folks, we smell different.
So Ty, what do you think? So I mean, obviously you got a lot of other watches besides Cartier, but your thoughts on it just being a jewelry brand and not really, a watch brand, or would you consider it having good, horological significance and being a true watch brand?
Oh, it seems like it has a lot of history and horological significance. I mean, look, I can't sort of list off lots of detail, but I mean, there's lots of content on YouTube, and it seems like they've got like a very illustrious history. Yeah, and I don't think it's. I don't consider it just a fashion brand. Like I think they're a legitimate watch brand as well.
Saad, for yourself, seeing a Cartier on the wrist, you're at dinner, at a high-end restaurant. Let's say you're in Singapore, right? You're at dinner in a restaurant in Singapore, and you see a Cartier on someone's wrist, male wrist, Cartier Santos. What goes through your mind, Saad?
I think the person is very stylish. He is way beyond Rolex. He doesn't care for the the after sales value, whatever it is called, resale. So the guy, he loves his watch, and he has bought that watch just because he liked the design up and not, making money out of it.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. I think that's a spot on assessment of what I would say as well. So Ty, you have Cartier. You said you also have some Tudor, some Rolex. What other pieces do you have that we could dive into?
Say something, Tan.
Yeah, go ahead, Professor. Absolutely.
If a Cartier is worn by a lady, that means that she has a lot of class, especially a Cartier worn by a lady.
What about with a man?
It's not a stereotype, but I guess I sort of resonate with that.
The man is nice. It's nice. It's nice, but remember, Jackie O used to wear one, and subsequently many other ladies. They remained classic to that form and function. Very nice watch, and I would say also the men. It's a classy watch. Pens are beautiful. The Cartier pens are beautiful. Cartier is at a different class, and they've done well. They haven't been hit by this enormous hype. Yeah, but it's a classy line, and I think that it's very much appreciated. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. Just a footnote here.
No, it's all right. We're just it's all good. The dialogue is what we want.
If only Jackie had been traveling in a tank rather than just wearing one, history could have been vitally different.
Ooh, Clive is
too soon.
Too soon. Even
100 years. Okay, sorry.
100 years. 100 years. We gotta wait 100 years. Han says back in '88, I wore a Santos.
Yep.
There you go, because of GG. I have a picture here of Michael Douglas wearing a Santos, a very famous that everybody can remember from Wall Street. And very, very cool piece.
In the 80s, Tan, you guys were still rather young, but in the 80s, the Santos was, along with the Submariner, the most widely produced fake watch in the world.
Yeah. Right.
So it was really a very popular piece, but it had a certain elegance, and it does still have a certain elegance. I bash all of the other brands, but this one has elegance.
Well, let me pull up Clyde's watch of choice when he was a bustling attorney in the 90s. Was a Tag Heuer Link at two-tone that had gold plating. Clyde, do you reminisce about your years of wearing a Tag Heuer Link, or is this something you'd just like to leave behind in the past?
I actually found out it helps to unmute yourself before you start commenting.
Sure.
Well, the thing is, I've never had one, but I actually saw it. It's like, oh, what do you have there? And he had me a Tag Heuer Link, and I looked up at him, looked down at the watch, looked up at him, looked down, handed the watch back, and said, "Nice watch."
Nice watch. Yankee Doodle's asking how much for Clive to throw his watches around in his drawer and hear them knocking around. Like the old days, Clyde.
Yeah. We're dropping a 321 on the counter.
Thomas Broadbent says Cartier in the 80s sold on every corner in New York City. Yes. Obviously it was a very popular watch. I think it's still a popular watch today. Like I said, right, we don't see a ton of it on. We don't get a lot of airtime for Cartier on YouTube, so I thought, with Ty actually having one live, it was a pretty good segue for us.
What about all the? I've seen a lot of videos popping up about the Rolex bubble bursting. The Rolex bubble bursting. Has this been discussed on here, or has that been?
Well,
already?
we have our economist. We have our economist, Mr. Professor. Let's talk about the Rolex bubble, Professor. Let's pull up Rolex. Let's talk
Sorry,
about
can I interject? Can I interject something real quick because I've not had a chance to?
Sure, of course you can.
Kneel before sod. Kneel before sod. Sorry, go ahead. I had to get that in.
All right, Professor. So Claude's premise is the Rolex bubble bursting? Are we in a bubble burst situation here?
I mean, it burst. It was a bubble, but how low will it go is not known, and it depends on demand and supply. And I think some of these watches will go down, but the main ones like the Pepsi and the Batgirl and the Daytona, they will stay high because of the hype that was created, right? I mean, they're still commanding a premium, whether it's 20% or 30% premium or 50, whatever. That's a muted question. It's not so relevant. But what happened over the last 3 years is there has been a structural shift in the way people perceive watches. Now, it happens that when there is a bubble, it bursts, things go bad, they go down, and then when there is higher demand and there is liquidity, things go up. But I don't expect that some of these pieces will go back to retail price. And the main issue for that is, one, they're unobtainable, right, from the AD. You've seen what I had to go through. I mean, I had to practically have sex with...
I'm sorry, you really cut out there for me just at the most inopportune time ever.
Oh, it's still stuck, I think.
Yeah, I think he's having some connection issues. But we got some support here from Ty, from Matt Lindell. I would prefer wearing a Santos for the rest of my life instead of.
Can Professor continue, please?
Of course he can. Of course he can. Professor, go ahead. I think. Have we lost sound on the Professor?
See, he starts talking bad about Rolex, and then all of a sudden, it seems like on YouTube, if anyone starts talking trash on Rolex, their sounds inexplicably.
Yours also now.
Can you guys hear the Professor at all? He's speaking, but I can't hear him.
Rolex is a very ugly.
What is going on?
Yeah, is Professor talking? Because I don't Ty. You can hear me, right?
Yeah. It's definitely Professor. He's on mute.
Yeah, he's not on mute, so I don't know what's going on. Unless he muted himself. He's going on the monologue. I'll make him full screen, but we can't hear you, Professor.
It's off on his
Sorry,
own.
Kyle. I'll put you full screen. Go ahead. Give him the signal. We can't hear him. Give him the wave. There we go. There. I think he got it now. No.
Stick your finger in my ear. Stick your finger. No way. Yep.
We'll wait for the Professor to come back with his audio. CB says the Rolex dealers.
Go ahead.
The Rolex dealers don't give a shite about prices going down in the secondary market. Still short in supply.
Yep. But what'll happen is when the gray market quits paying above extra over retail for them, flippers will quit buying them. But then you might start seeing them actually appear in store shelves.
Higgy, hop on, Higgy. We got everybody here. We got the Professor back.
I'm back.
Yeah.
Did you hear anything I said?
No, we couldn't hear anything. No.
After you talked about having sex, you cut out entirely. Which
my favorite. My favorite guy, Rancher.
Yes.
Okay, let me say, just not to bore you too much. Okay. So it was a bubble. It burst like all asset prices. if we consider watches assets. But anyway, the market did perceive that there is some asset worth in these things. Some of the high pieces have gone down, if not.
And there we go again.
Whenever he says something bad about Rolex, then he gets muted.
He gets muted. So let's look at the. I think this was Christopher Negroni says still can't get a Viking Panda, so it needs to stop crashing. It should keep crashing.
I'm back.
So
again.
look at it. Yeah, you're back, Professor. So these are
okay. Sorry,
prices.
I'm in some real weird territory here, so I'm. It's very
okay.
difficult.
Yeah, keep going. You're
okay.
Go ahead.
So I was saying, look, yes, clearly it was a bubble and it burst. How low will it go? I don't know. It's a form and function of many things. One is liquidity in the market, demand, which is falling, but supply is not increasing, right? So Rolex is not going to supply more watches, and whatever crap people tell you about this new factory, it will do nothing to increase production over the next 10 years. So what will happen is that already we have a structural shift, what we call a structural shift. So over the last 2 to 3 years, watches have been introduced as a somehow asset class. This will continue. When things recover, watches will recover as well, but I don't know when, right? It could take 5 years or 10 years, but you know, the issue here is that the supply, and this is what the Swiss watch industry understands very well from the last 2 to 3 years, is that they will not produce more watches for anyone. They don't give a shit about what everybody thinks. They don't really care what we tell them they should do. They know very well that scarcity is going to create a huge hype in the coming years, especially as, you know, things improve. In the short term, things could look very bad because, you know, the labor market will soften up, and the Fed will increase rates. People will have less money. Crypto is in the doldrums, and you know, that's a fact of life. But overall, Rolex is not going to increase production. If anything, over the next 15 years, there'll be more Chinese wanting to buy coveted watches than Americans. You know, China is going to be the largest economy in the world, and all of the billionaires being created now are in China, not in the US. So imagine what happens when that market continues to take off. Fine, now there is a hiccup, but if you look at statistics, the Asian market is recovering, and 2023 will be a recovery year, 24 as well, despite what people tell you about the crisis, real estate, and all that. That you know, is not an issue. I mean, the middle class alone in China, right, is about 500 million people. The population in the US is about 330. So there are more billionaires in China than they are put together in Europe and the US. So guess what happens? If Rolex continues to produce 1 million watches, you know, the demand will continue to skyrocket. Patek, Audemars, Chapek, Mapek, and all these brands will produce very few pieces, and they will command a very high price. They know very well the game, and you know, these will be unobtainable watches in the coming years. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh my God, we have a guest live. We have a guest live from the ski hill. We got the Rodin 3.0. What's happening?
What's
up, Ken? Yeah, I'm with someone you know.
Are you a GJ?
No, not with GJ.
Not with GJ.
That should happen, though. That should happen.
I don't know who else it could be.
I'm here in Utah.
Utah. Very nice.
I thought I'd drop in. Is the Sunday morning show common?
We were just bored, and so all the friends decided to come help us on a Sunday morning show. So
nice. It's like a church service then.
It's a church service, yeah. Definitely. How's the skiing going? How's the slopes today?
The weather is incredible. Like, it's not too cold. It's perfectly clear, not windy. Like, I almost feel bad that I'm spending time being on here, but yeah.
We got a super chat, Jin. Maybe you can answer the super chat from the mountain. So we got the $2 super chat from R2K 2007 panel. can Polo Ralph Lauren become a legit watch house? Jin, what do you think?
Like a watch, I don't think there'll ever be a watch house. I think they may release decent watches. I mean, they have. I don't know if it's for me. I can't get over the mental barrier. Like, I can get over the mental barrier for like a jewelry-ish brand, like I don't know, like a Chanel or something. But I can't get over the barrier for like a clothing brand, especially one that makes a lot of down market shit as well as like high-end stuff.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Let me make the layout a bit different here for us. I'm pulling up Polo's website. I don't know why it went all black on me, so I'll just go back here. There we go. A couple Polo watches here. Anyone else on the panel want to get into their thoughts? You think Polo Ralph Lauren will always become a serious watch house or just a fashion brand? Ty, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know too much about you know, the watchmaking prowess of Ralph Lauren, to be honest. So I don't think I can really make an educated sort of comment about this. But yeah, I'm interested though.
Clivers.
Well, okay, yes, theoretically anything is possible. So if it can, then I would say yes. Can it? Will it? Or should it? Or could it? But theoretically, it is possible that it can become a legit watch house.
This is why you never ask a lawyer this kind of a question, R2K 2007, because Clive will definitely look at the words can and say will and whatnot. So Clive is perpetually glass half full. So I'll say Clive does believe it could become a legit watch house. Jonathan Quill Higgins III says, my next watch will be a Mapec. And Jin Forbin says, I knew Jin would appear. That green Piaget dial is like your bat signal for Jin to show up. Forbin says Polo will work if 1980s nostalgia kicks in. And Wrote Up Mutation says, what the fike? Swing Kangaroo says cool straps. Yeah, look, like it's obviously, you know, Ralph Lauren's lineup is interesting. It's got a bunch of different designs. I'm just not sure if this is really going to resonate with watch collectors, if that's something that they dig or not. We got someone else joining here. Oh, the professor is back. All right, Professor, you are back, sir. Welcome back.
Can I say something just to be clear? Because
Yeah.
I think some of the comments I want to address, if I can, Tan.
Sure, of course.
It's let me say something because people are not listening well. The market has to soften up, the labor market, and this is what the Federal Reserve Chairman says all the time when he keeps on increasing interest rates. Interest rates in the US will keep on increasing because they need to soften up the market. This is not a labor market that is to the liking of the Federal Reserve. It is true that the labor market is still very hot. And when there is hotness in the market, inflation keeps on going up. So this is very important. The market, labor market has to soften up. That's all I wanted to say.
R2K 2007 says, look at the movements they claim they have specially developed for them. Let's see if we can find one here. This website's it's not really working out for me. Just scroll. I try to pull up an actual watch. All right, so this is the movement. They say it's specifically developed for them. I'm not sure if it's certain types of movements or if it's this specific one, but
forget this watch, Tan. This is
no, the guy's paid money. He's asking the question of like whether
he paid, okay,
yeah, whether he thinks
don't buy the watch.
Yeah, no one cares about that watch.
All right, so nobody cares about this watch, unfortunately. R2K 2007. I think we have someone who does care about watches.
Let me also interject something, having teensy bit of insider's guide or perspective. When they talk about specially developed movement, a lot of times what a watchmaker will do or a movement maker will do, they'll take something off. They can take something off the shelf, change or tweak something, 2 or 3 minor things about it. Take it from small seconds to center seconds, or take small seconds at 6 to, whatever, and say, oh, there you go. There's your specially developed movement. They'll count something else, and they said, yes, and if you pay them enough, that we'll never share it with anybody else, or we won't do that without your permission. So I don't know how much stock I would put on something like that.
And how much more special could that movement be? I mean, it doesn't look that special. It's not a great picture, but
no.
Higgins is here to talk to us. He loves talking about controversial topics. We've dived into. We had a nice super chat from RTK 2007 asking about Polo, Ralph Lauren, whether it could become a serious watch house, which has kind of spun the discussion into the chat into Louis Vuitton and Hermes. You obviously have some experience with these, especially with this one, with the Arceau Le Temps Voyageur from Hermes. This is a world time that won at GPHG. Higgins, do you want me to play the video, or do you want to just dive right into this piece?
You can play the video, but my stance about this watch is clear. I don't like the lug on the top. That is just odd, and Hermes is continuing doing that.
Your big lug.
Arceau Le Temps Voyageur, la particularité de cette montre, c'est justement les 24 fuseaux horaires. On va appuyer sur le petit bouton à 9h et on va pouvoir déplacer ce satellite flottant qui va justement traverser cette fameuse planisphère, cette planisphère équestre qui a justement cette particularité de nous faire rêver à travers.
Cette pièce a l'objet d'un brevet international déposé par Hermès. Il a fallu intégrer 3 différentiels pour l'animation des différentes fonctions et en particulier du satellite flottant. Une autre caractéristique, c'est l'auto-orientation du cadran du local time qui maintient sa direction tout autour de son voyage sur les 24 villes.
Arceau Le Temps Voyageur marque un nouveau chapitre du temps chez Hermès. Elle propose une lecture ludique et pratique grâce à son satellite flottant qui va nous emmener autour du monde.
All right. So R2K 2007 follows up saying, the point of my question is related to how certain brands can become established as watch brands like Cartier. So maybe we can pivot to that. Jonathan, what do you think a brand like Ralph Lauren would need to become established like a Cartier?
That is a difficult question because, in my opinion, Ralph Lauren has very high targets, but he fails to achieve what his vision is at the moment. But let me take a more general approach. First of all, I totally agree with the professor about his vision about who is going to buy all those Rolex watches in the future. If you think that availability at Rolex ADs for you guys in the US or for us in Europe will get better in the coming years, you're just living in an illusion. And the professor was explaining well why that is. I say 300 million Chinese, he says 500 million Chinese who are reaching the middle class, who want to consume brand products, and that is Louis Vuitton, and then it's Rolex. So there is a bright future for Rolex and for all involved watch brands, in my opinion. If I were a CEO of a watch company at the moment, I wouldn't lose an hour of sleep on the demand side, because the future is bright on the demand side. The problems that the Swiss watch industry at the moment are facing are supply issues. And there is a very interesting interview with the CEO of Patek that has been presented a couple of days ago. And he's talking about those supply chain issues. He would love to supply his clients with watches, but his suppliers and their suppliers are not able to get the parts. And when there is only one small part missing, that means there is not a complete watch available for a client. And So what I'm trying to say is, if I owned a watch company in Switzerland, or if I was CEO, I wouldn't be worried about demand in the future years.
So there's contention in the chat here saying that we obviously talk about demand. Hans Nees and Toast says demand can evaporate overnight. Again, someone who has no idea how the world works. Ooh, Higgins. Will demand slow down, or will demand be an unlimited increase, as we're seeing, or as some people are predicting that the demand is going to keep skyrocketing?
Remember when COVID was starting to influence our lives, people were saying doom and gloom. Nobody's buying cars, nobody's buying jewelry, nobody's buying watches anymore. And for example, the car industry then cut short their share for computer chips. How wrong was that? Now they can't supply enough. So I think it's very short-sighted to see. Yes, there is a crisis probably on the consumer market at the moment in the US or in Europe. The rich people are still buying watches like crazy. The slow relaxation on the supply at the moment with the ADs. I'm hearing that you're not waiting for years for a Rolex Submariner at the moment. But that is only a very short period of time, I would guess, because the Chinese market will be back strong and stronger than ever, and so we will have issues with the supply chain. And by the way, what the Patek CEO is saying, I'm hearing that for 2 years from other CEOs from watch companies. Problem is supply issues, not the demand.
Professor, what do you think? Is it supply? Is it demand? Is it both?
Yeah, look, obviously the doomsdayers could say anything they want. Right now, the figures are talking. If you look at the UK market, supposedly it is in a slight recession. Watches of Switzerland are announcing another profit year, substantially more than before. In the US, if you look at the Swiss Federation of Watch Exporters, as of December, the American market is growing hugely. Now that China is coming back from the COVID shutdown, they will recover very quickly, right? So it depends how you see it. We have seen recessions before. This is not a depression. And yeah, if you want to see a recession, a huge recession or a depression, you can, call it anytime you want. The fact is that the Swiss watch industry is exporting a huge amount of watches, especially precious metals. And you guys are sitting around in this chat talking about watches. And I don't think anything will change. I think the demand will keep on growing. By 2035, China will be the largest economy in the world. And Asia in general will be the future of this world. The West is in a kind of a demise, and we are all Westerners talking about our own regions. If you go to the East, you will see how thirsty people are for the creation of wealth and for money. And Asia is going to be taking over the world in the 21st century. And that's where the market is growing. Rolex is opening, and Patek Philippe, more shops in Asia than anywhere else around the world. In fact, they're cutting down in the West, and they're opening more in Asia. So if you don't want to see it, you can keep on commiserating about your own misery and about your own doomsday scenarios.
Yeah, and let me add, even if the economies are hit hard, the rich people will continue to consume luxury products, and so even if the normal Joe is feeling the recession, the rich people will be able to ride it out, and previous recessions and crises showed that the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. So I'm not too worried about Rolex demand and all companies that are in that segment.
Let's
Here's a question for you, Tan. With
Sure.
your own group of friends who own expensive cars, is it
Mhm.
demand or supply or both?
Well,
Tell
there's
us
a,
what
there's,
you
there's
see in
a
the
lack
market.
in the high-end or exotic car market. It's a lack of
Yeah,
supply. There's a
yeah,
huge amount of demand for them. Even my country, we got hit with a luxury tax. The federal government put in a luxury tax for new cars that any car over 100,000 Canadian dollars would get hit with a tax of either 10% or 20% of the value over $100,000, depending on whichever one was lower, would be where you get hit with a luxury tax. To really also cash in on the high amount of demand that's out there for luxury and exotic automobiles. Um, I did want to. So Jonathan said that if I were running a company, if I was a CEO, and this is what I'd be. So I'm gonna kind of turn the tables on you guys here. You know, Professor Higgins, Rancher, if you guys were the CEO at the helm of Panerai, what would you guys do differently? You know, we've talked about the state of the watch market, probably more in the Rolex, Patek Philippe, AP, the brands that have a high demand. But if you're running one of these companies like Panerai, what would you do differently to increase your sales? Open to anybody to start. Doesn't matter, Professor. You can start or Higgins.
I'm not doing Mission Impossibles, but that is just a joke.
You cut. Higgins says it's impossible and he wouldn't take the job. He would turn it down no matter how much money Panerai threw at him. Is that correct, Jonathan?
Yeah, no, I'm just joking. I think they lost their track. I think the first line of action would be to regain consumer confidence, and that means investment. Panerai, unfortunately, in the last couple of years, they cheapened down. They made the movements, their watches in the least expensive kind of way, and that disappoints a lot of aficionados for the brand. So I think at the beginning they have to start to work on the quality of their watches, but that costs money. And the question is Richemont willing to invest this kind of money, or are they only pushing the CEOs to make more money, which then means cheaper watches, more complicated watches, which goes against the DNA of Panerai?
Well, that's the question, right? Let's say Richemont gave you the keys and they said, hey, Jonathan, we're hiring you to increase sales for Panerai by, let's say, 15% in 2024. So you take the helm in 2023, your job is to increase it in 2024. Let's say you want to increase sales. They'll give you a year to really start revamping the brand. What are the first things you're doing?
I would not work under those conditions. I would tell them I need at least a 3-year or a 5-year plan where I need investments from you to increase the quality of the watches and to focus back on the classics, which means for the next 2-3 years we may lose even revenue. But then Panerai as a brand will come back stronger, and in the end, after those years, we will sell more watches. That would be my focus.
Okay, so let's say Richemont says, okay, you have 3 to 5 years. What changes are you enacting, to get the ball rolling to get to that point in 3 to 5 years?
Well,
that's for you.
Yeah, I'd focus more on the classic watches, and I would certainly improve the quality of the product from the inside and also from the outside.
Jonathan, there is another strategy. If you can make a scheme like buy 2 get 1 free, that's
taking it down the line of Invicta. I put Panerai's site up here to kind of highlight what do they show the consumer when someone goes to the website. Like, what are they trying to show the consumer, right? So you've got a whole bunch of different watches. You'll see the Due, which is it's their piece that's pared down. It's 30 meters water resistant. It's arguably more what we would want to say linking to be a dress watch, because I can't see anybody looking at this and taking it seriously as a dive watch. You've got other models which are either complications or You have models that are special editions. This is, to me, when I see this on Panerai's website, it seems like they're just literally like, just taking a shotgun and trying whatever to really hit the mark. And I don't think they have a ton of direction. And that's really the question. When I saw this, I was like, well, what would you guys think the direction they need to go for? Because, they clearly seem to be not doing well by going kind of really wide in the range as opposed to being more focused. Professor, what do you think about Panerai as a brand and what they could do to improve, if they were looking to increase their sales?
Are we doing them a service and they're listening to us? They should pay us for this.
Yeah, we should charge them.
If Richemont hasn't figured this out with a revenue of 80 billion or 90 billion, I could be getting a few billions wrong. They should do super chats from now until perpetuity, preferably $1 million worth of super chats. I think they need to change the entire look of the watch to begin with. This watch is finished. It's done. It has been overutilized. They haven't made it. Unlike the Royal Oak of AP, this look is now dead. So they need to revamp the entire look because it doesn't stand in the wider consumer market. So there is
That's a good point, though. That is a good point, because understand AP's look that he's speaking about is very much driven by popular culture, right? You've got sports athletes and you've got musicians that are wearing the Royal Oak, but this brand itself was also driven by that as well back in the day when Sylvester Stallone was a big proponent of the design, right? So they had their own rise to fame from that as well.
What do you think if they make Marcelo as their brand ambassador?
No, okay, guys, you're talking about Cie, but he's literally consulting about to watch his son watches, and he's been interviewed. People asked him. He basically said, "I drove the brand. I drove people to that brand. I was like their biggest spokesperson for it, and they didn't give me a dime. They didn't even give me a pat on the head." Because
I feel the same way about the Ranchers YouTube channel. I never got a mug, but who's counting score, right?
But just to be serious or something like that.
Even the thieves don't like this brand. I've never heard somebody robbed of their Panerai.
Like for instance, of course, what was the show that everyone was watching not too long ago? Literally, was it The White Lotus?
Yeah, The White Lotus.
Season 2, Aubrey Plaza, et cetera. That took place, literally, the entire series took place on a beach in Sicily. You think Panerai would have jumped all over that and had, literally Panerais on everyone's wrist on that series. It would have thematically made sense for the series. But again, it's because it's Richemont. They don't want to put money into the brands. They just want to take money out of these brands.
Exactly.
The brands.
Exactly.
And it's just like, and we're talking all the brands that are owned by Swatch. We're talking about all the luxury brands that are owned by the company that made all their money by selling the cheapest watches known to man that were non-quartz at that time.
There's people says, I think Panerai makes a fine product, but I think they should do more marketing, maybe some sponsorship, and probably stop with the price hikes. Followed up by Thomas Broadbent.
Their hands and knees beg feds. I mean, beg Cie. Cie, we treated you so wrong. Well, sorry, that was the last guy. He was an asshole. We treasure you. Please come back.
Thomas Broadbent says Panerai is a limited market size, resize expectation, and return to basics. Quality, fair price. Panerai season early online, not Sly. And for those that obviously were collecting for a long time, Panerai used to be the Rolex of the 90s. In terms of the watch collector community, they were very highly sought after pieces, but obviously a different time, and as professors talked about, times have changed, and so has design. And what's
the Panerai was the first that came out with a 40 and a 44 millimeter. It was very trendy back then in the 1990s. Panerai sold itself as a trendy watch. Everything in Italy was big ties. I don't know. I used to go to Italy back then. As I go today, and everything was big. Panerai sold itself on this bigness, and Rolex actually copied them. Everybody, the outsizing of the case of the watches, the Swiss caught up on it in the mid 2000s. So Panerai influenced, but Panerai disappeared because the consumer base left that oversized watch market. It doesn't make a lot of sense unless you're blind to buy a watch like that, and they haven't revamped themselves. So marketing will not do a lot, and pricing is a tricky business. So I'll tell you why. The Swiss watch industry now is going to go through many different price increases between 6 to 10% each of them. And this is how they're going to increase revenue. They're not going to produce more. They will increase their revenue by increasing price. If Panerai does not increase price, last year Omega did 6 price increases, right? If Panerai doesn't, it leaves the luxury market and it becomes another, Tissot. So price is an important indicator of the luxury point. So they need to follow. If they lose the price and they only do marketing, they're in a very tricky situation. I believe they need to revamp the entire line. They need to do a rebirth, like Parmigiani did. Parmigiani did exactly the same thing. Panerai is the only brand that the one-trick pony watch hasn't worked out for them. And unfortunately, the Asian market has killed Panerai because Asians do not have big wrists. So this brand is dead. And I think it's going to die if they don't revamp the looks of it.
We'll probably end on the Panerai topic there, unless anyone else has a very important comment to make about Panerai. But I think all of us are kind of on the same page. The Panerai needs a revamp. They need to do something. They need to bring the paddles to this flatlining brand, because it's a brand I do like. I do always enjoy my Luminors when I have them in the collection. I've owned a number of them, and yeah, look, it's a brand that I think lost its ways, and hopefully we'll get back on track.
I think the problem with the Panerai is the crown guard.
I actually like the crown guard. I think that's part of their DNA.
I think it's unique. The crown guard is actually unique. Panerai, look, back in the 90s, I visited the manufacturer, and they have a history. It's a very interesting history. Of course, it hasn't, unlike other Italian brands, which fashion on the Italian branding. Ferrari for 40 years was a shitty car. Okay? I mean, Ferrari was dysfunctional in every way. Whoever bought a Ferrari must have been an idiot. Okay, if you operated that car, everything was falling apart. So unfortunately, sorry for those Ferrari passionate people back of the day in the days. Right now, Ferrari has revamped itself and it's a functional car. But back then, it wasn't working. Sorry to say. Panerai had a very nice history, and it had to do with the Italian Navy of the 1940s, even if the Italian Navy of the 1940s was as defunct as, the Italian Army of the 1940s. So, they need to go back and recreate that myth, because the Italian brand is all about a myth. It doesn't work, but it's a nice myth. People buy the shit. It's not a Lange, it's not a Patek that it's a functional watch. It was always a shitty watch. And people bought it because it looked nice,
All right, we have a super chat from Dodger 10 Polish Zloty saying, "Good watch talk, great panel, thanks." Thank you, Dodger. And we have America 5524G. Mr. Higgins, this may be one I was going to ask you to talk about, but he says, "Please remove the Area 51 alien watch from the screen." Not a lot of people like the Streamliner here, Higgins. I was going to ask you guys, and it wasn't really specific to the Streamliner. It was more around if we were to, kind of ask the same question around Moser. right? In terms of their brand and you know
Moser, yeah.
go ahead.
I sorry for interruption. It's a delay here. So the thing about I like about Moser is they also make really nice hair trimmers.
Well, as a hairy guy, I can appreciate that. I have to get talking time with my daughter. So, gentlemen, have a good day.
Yeah,
Thanks.
my Mrs. Higgins called me for dinner now. So give me just 1
This is
minute
your
about
second dinner.
Moser.
You were already saying that you had
Yeah, he
dinner.
was already eating
No,
dinner.
I
It's
was
fine.
I was writing that expecting that she would be ready, but now she's really ready. So allow me one word about H. Moser. First of all, H. Moser makes their good money not from creating watches. They are a high-end supplier for the Swiss watch industry in terms of hairsprings. That is where they earn the big bucks, as far as I know. I like H. Moser for their creativity. Just look at the Streamliner. Just look at what they're doing with the Vanta Black. Just look at what they're doing to troll the Swiss watch industry. I think they're super creative. They have a bright future, and I totally love the brand. And I give kudos to the rancher. He was the first guy in the watch community who bought an H. Moser, and he got pretty hardly criticized for that. But now everybody seems to agree that they're not a shitty brand.
No, I don't think anyone says they're a shitty brand. I think that some of the comments are around, are they, you know, the trolling was good for a while, but like, you know, if you saw their new one that they released this last year, people are like, you know, is it just becoming too much of a gimmick now, the trolling, and or they just didn't really enjoy what they came out with in 2022. But in terms of Moser itself, you know, I'm not a big fan of the Streamliner. I don't like the design of the piece. I do like, you know, more simpler pieces like the Endeavor or even the Pioneer with the simple fume dial. Everyone does know, obviously, about Moser's sister company or subsidiary company that produces hairsprings for the Swiss watch industry. As a brand, like, you know, they're very accessible. Like, I don't know if anyone's ever tried to communicate with Edouard Mélan, who's the CEO of Moser, but yeah, you could probably add that guy on LinkedIn and he would respond to a message. Yeah, no worries, Jonathan, it's fine. But he'll respond. They're very interactive with the watch community, which is a plus side for this brand, I would say, in that you can build some form of a relationship with the brand. Now, secondary market, some of these pieces take a real dump on the secondary market. Other pieces hold some value on the secondary. So they're not uncommon as, you know, what would happen to other brands, I would say, that aren't as big of a name. But I don't particularly dislike this brand. I'm not a huge proponent of it. I'm just kind of still out to lunch on the brand. Saad, you said you like certain pieces from Moser. What else do you like about Moser? Just do you like the way that they're doing the marketing? Do you like the way that the watches are designed?
I think this is the next big thing, to be honest. The people are not, you know, taking this watch brand serious, and they have a comeback. Actually, this was a very old brand, I believe. So I think this is actually a good investment in long term.
Professor, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Saad.
And this is the piece that Professor Higgins was talking about. The Vanta Black, 25,000 Swiss francs, center seconds in steel. I think they had a couple of iterations of the Vanta Black, but this was the Genesis was the one that people were kind of like, is it just too much of a gimmick? Like, are we going a little too far with that? And I don't think too many people were very happy with that piece. But in the Endeavor lineup, obviously, they have some really cool pieces. Look at this one here, the Endeavor Tourbillon. And this is using ox eye sod for the dial here. Ox eye.
Very cool.
Tourbillon. Yeah, Tourbillon. Pretty interesting piece. But yeah, I mean, they have a whole bunch of different dial layouts in their lineup. This is the Pioneer collection. This is their kind of entry level. I believe this is called the Mega Cool Pioneer Seconds. I saw this one up for sale. It's a Blue Lagoon Fume dial. It's on 13,900 Swiss francs. And you obviously have a tourbillon version of it. So they've revamped this lineup with the Pioneer Center Seconds, where it used to be a couple of different dial layouts, but it seems like there's they've gone and changed it a bit. And you got the Streamliner, which I know America 5524G is not interested in seeing, but this is their sports watch that I think a lot of folks, it's a love or hate, right? Like, you know, I'm not a huge fan of the design, but yeah. All right, we got another super
How
chat
much
here.
are these watches? Tan, how much are these watches?
The Streamliner. Let's pull up a
Any of
regular.
them?
Well, some of them are.
15,000, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the one that was a flyback chronograph was 39,900 Swiss francs. $10, America 5524G. Help me decide which watch. So full gold, rose gold heavy hitter to choose. VC Overseas, blue full rose gold. AP Royal Oak, full rose gold on bracelet. Full rose gold, RLX, Rolex, GMT root beer, assuming all could be purchased at the AD. So he's saying he could get them all for retail. I'll pull up some of these watches for you guys. Well,
AP Royal Oak is the best here.
Restaurant Blue Dial Overseas. Let's pull up this one. This is the Blue Dial Overseas in rose gold. And then he's talking about an AP Royal Oak. AP Royal Oak, Blue Dial, rose gold.
Beautiful.
Now, I don't know if he means this one specifically, but I'm just pulling this one up specifically if he likes that one. It's the AP Royal Oak. And then we've got the GMT root beer, and then this is all gold. I don't want to pull up a two-tone. We're going to pull up the all gold. This is my favorite iteration of the root beer, is an all gold root beer. All right, so now I've shown 3 watches, boys. What are your guys' takes? We'll do a little vote here on the panel. Professor, what's your take? What's the one you would take on this one?
Wait a second. What is VC Overseas?
Blue Dial. I'll show it to you here. I don't know if you saw it. It's a Vacheron Constantin.
Vacheron. Vacheron.
Yeah.
Vacheron. Oh, La Vache qui rit. Okay. Vacheron. Very nice. Beautiful. Okay. Okay. I'm fine.
So which one would you take?
Yeah, of course. He needs to get a man's watch.
So you're gonna say Rolex, obviously.
Of course.
All right. So the Professor's Rolex side. What about you?
Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. 100%.
I'm gonna go with the same. Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Blue Dial. I think the Royal Oak and Rose Gold is one of my favorites.
Too beautiful. It's too beautiful.
No, I would get the chronograph in that.
So he would get the chronograph.
Yeah.
He prefers the chronograph. I like the just basic Royal Oak in the Blue Dial. This one's with diamonds. Let's see if I can find another one here. Oh, here we go. I like this one, just standard. Looks pretty classy for me. This is the one to go for, America. I think we got a 2-to-1 vote. Saad, I think, may have changed his tone from Rolex to AP. So there you go. AP for the win. CB says the Perpetual Moon Aventurine is a very nice one. I think he's talking about Moser. Home Milk says the Pioneer needs to be smaller. And Swing Kangaroo wants the link. Oh, sorry, man. Here we go. Dropping the link for Swing Kangaroo. Sandro says 2 APs. Thomas Broadbent says root beer. Matt Lindell says root beer. Oh my God, I'm getting behind here. $2 super chat. Link, please, Swing Kangaroo. My bad, man. My bad. I just dropped it. And Hans Knees and Toes, £5. Thank you, Hans Knees and Toes. For each panel member, which asset class do you have the most wealth in? I don't know if everyone's going to want to talk about their wealth. But if you guys want to say anything, you guys could say it.
For sure, it's not in watches.
Professor says for sure not in watches. Saad.
I think love. I have most of my wealth in love.
Saad has his wealth in love, and all my wealth is in Saad's guns. So those are Saad's gun collection, I'd say, is where all my wealth is. What's going on, Swinton? How you doing?
All right.
Sorry, man. I was.
Oh, it's all right. It's cool.
So Schwinn, you have a take on the rose gold question, or what do you think?
I'll take the Royal Oak.
There you go, Royal Oak, 3-1 with the Royal Oak. America says, what if the AP was a 15510 with black dial, not blue? So he's talking about the new version. AP Rose, let me pull it up. 15510 black dial. Pull her up. Okay. So here's the black dial. Any changes on your guys' side? I don't mind the black dial either. I think the black dial is fine.
No, the black dial is even better. So yeah.
Black dial.
Even better.
Everything about Royal Oak is beautiful. I haven't seen single Royal Oak which is not beautiful.
And Professor would say, bin it. They can keep it.
No. If the second choice will be a Royal Oak.
And then Captain says VC in blue, and then the AP in black. I know Captain has his AP in black, so Captain is a little biased.
Too serious. AP black.
CBC says the VC overseas is more versatile. It is, right? Like, obviously, their new bracelet system is pretty cool. I don't have anything against the VC overseas. I'd probably just be looking for that watch in steel, CB, to be honest with you, and I'd probably get the AP in rose gold. Royal Oak is a scratch magnet, especially in gold. Yes, Royal Oaks are scratch magnets. And
same is the case with the root beer. It's also scratch magnet. The central links are terrible.
I think if you're thinking about anything in gold, it's gonna be soft, and you're gonna have to be careful. But
if you can afford it, forget about the scratches. You can afford people discratching it.
Jimmy says something I think about the Vacheron. I love. I'd go Vacheron for sure. There's a split panel, split chat. Kelsowitz, how's it going, man? I like the Vache. It just kills me that they're with Richemont. If they were indie like AP and Rolex, they'd be better off and have more respect. Kelsowitz, you're also forgetting Patek Philippe is also independent, owned by the Stern family. But I know what Kelsowitz is saying. So, Swing Kangaroo, what's happening with you, man? How's your Sunday going?
Not much. I just need to go get more ingredients for the barbecue. That's all.
Ooh, what are you guys having for barbecue today?
I'm making a homemade burger. So
okay,
some more ground beef and stuff. So it should be
now.
Good.
Do you guys put do you guys like your burger spicy?
The spicy came from the sauce actually, because like some folks they don't like it when they made it, and it makes all the spice in the meat. They like to add it on as a choice, so that way everybody can enjoy it.
Kelsowitz says, of course, Patek, they're not in the three-watch discussion with these golf pieces. He means gold, but he says gold, but golf pieces. I pulled that out, Kelsowitz, because he called it golf pieces. Kangaroo, it's, whenever I go to barbecues, especially at Indian folks' house, the burgers, they have a bit of spice that's thrown into it. They like spicy flavor. So I was wondering if Thai burgers would ever come spicy.
Usually, the kick will come with a dipping sauce, and a lot of my friends like them. When I introduce the sauce to them, in the beginning they're too spicy, and then when they get used to it, they keep asking it for more. So
of course,
it's good. Yeah.
Of course. You were talking to me, Kangaroo, about some watches. I think we were talking about Pateks, right? And you were talking about looking at them in Thailand. What are your kind of your thoughts? Sorry?
Yes. What was the question?
Yeah, no, we were talking about just some Pateks, and you said, hey, Thailand's probably a good spot to start looking if you wanted to get something, at the AD and stuff like that. Is it they just have access to the more basic lineups like Calatravas and stuff you'd see, available in Thailand, or is it just better to play the games over there?
Play the game over there is not better. It's worse actually. But
worse.
But when you buy the stuff that from those people who play the game, that when they liquidate it at the loss, that is when you're looking for to get your hands on, if you can find what you're looking for.
Yeah, sorry. No, it's I can imagine it being definitely more difficult. Than for me, my issue is that like I'm in a country that just has so few ADs, and it's just very that you ask for the basic stuff and you don't even get that. And the problem is that the dealers don't stock anything that's not a Nautilus or an Aquanaut, and so you really have to find collectors that are wanting to part with pieces, like weekly calendars, Calatravas, annual calendars, world times. And it's interesting because you would expect, everyone talks about, hey, they're terminal and they're sinking ships and this and that, that people would want to get rid of them. But like ironically, I can't get anyone to actually sell me anything, which is and it has nothing to do with price. I'm not even talking about price. People are just like, nah, I'm not looking to sell. I just want to hoard and possess my Patek Philippe here in Canada. So I'm kind of in a.
I wanted to ask you, how come in Canada, being one of the strongest economies in the world, a member of the G7 strongest economies, and has no watch ADs? I mean, this is a cartel.
Well, there's ADs. There's just not a lot of them. So there's an AD in Montreal. There's an AD in Toronto. There's an AD in Calgary, and there's an AD in Vancouver. The ones in Calgary and Vancouver are run through a big chain called Burke's, or I think they call themselves Brinkhouse over in the west. And the ones in Ontario and Quebec are they're actual ADs. Like the one in Toronto is a Rolex AD as well as a Patek AD. The one in Montreal is, I think they have Parmigiani as well, but they don't have Rolex. They're mostly a Patek AD.
Is Shreves still in existence?
Is what? Sorry.
Shreves.
Shreves.
Blow.
I don't know. I don't know. Okay. I don't really frequent too many dealers in Quebec, but the one in Montreal is called Kaufman de Suisse. And yeah, look, AP was one of them that actually moved out. There's no more AP. There's no more AP ADs around. And I told a story a few days ago where a friend of mine reached out to like the leader of AP North America and said, hey, like, when should we expect a boutique in Canada? And the AP executive said, well, why don't you just go to New York? And it's like, well, no, like we're not going to cross countries to go buy a watch. It's why can't you supply it locally to a certain country and stuff like that? So, but anyways, guys, I'm rounding off 2.5 hours. I actually got to run. I don't know if you guys had any final comments. Professor, any final comments from you for the stream?
No, I'm good.
Professor says you guys can keep your comments. You can keep it.
No,
No, Professor is great. We love having the professor. He always gives great commentary, unique commentary that I don't think you're going to see in a lot of other streams. We got one more super chat here before I end it. America 5524G, $10. Are there any significant or worthwhile differences between the 15500 and 510 lines, or is it literally just the design differences on the dial? There are slight differences in terms of the case back, as well as I believe the bracelet has a slight difference on the 510. And honestly, America 5524G, it's the same movement between the two watches, same case diameter size. So I have a 500. I had not really a huge interest in a 510 because I prefer the dial design of the 500 with the applied AP logo to the removal of it on the 510. But look, either one would be fine if you can get them. If you can get a 500 slightly cheaper and something that's available, I'd get it. That's what I did. There was a 500 that was available, brand new, stickered, never registered. So for me, I preferred that dial layout, so I went with that one. But the design differences are so subtle that honestly, you probably won't care. Is what I would say. Is you probably wouldn't care. And yeah, like the 500 also ran only for I think like 3 or 4 years. It's interesting because they ran the 300 for 7 years, they ran the 400 for 7 years, and then they ran the 500 for like 3 to 4 before they went to the 510. So it does have a shorter span as well. So that could maybe in the future have some significance. I don't think it will, but there's just less 500s, or there probably will be less 500s if they run the 510 for a 7-year run. But yeah, guys, rounding off here at the 2.5 hour mark. Want to thank everybody who came on the panel. Kangaroo, we have Professor, we have Saad, we had ABC, we had Higgins, we had Clive the Rancher. Archie will be on, I believe, in 4 hours. And for everybody else that's not watching the Super Bowl, we're going to be back in 4 hours. But yeah, just wanted to thank everybody for hopping on and to wish everybody a happy Sunday.
Thank you, everyone. It's great. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much to all of you guys.